I Love You Forever is a new film that just world premiered at South by Southwest from co-writers and co-directors Cazzie David and Elisa Kalani. This film is about Mackenzie, a 25-year-old who's unlucky in love until she has a real-life meet-cute with Finn, a news reporter and kind of charming guy.
Very charming. Very
their relationship is picture book perfect for a bit. Until it isn't.
Yeah.
And I Love You Forever turns from a cute thing into kind of not so cute thing, a bit creepy.
Yeah.
This is a pretty interesting film in how it juggles different tones, different feels, different genres.
Yeah.
It kind of starts out a little rom-comish and ends up in
I was trying to come up with a
social thriller.
Yeah.
rom-com, and I didn't know what the other would be. There was nothing with horror. It's just a rom-com gone wrong. That's what it is.
It really is.
There
it is.
And it's kind of funny when you go into a movie like this without really knowing much of what it's about, because I found my experience being like, this feels weird totally for this movie, and then you see that's the direction.
Yes.
And I like it, and I like that.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a bait and switch in like very intentional way. And I think it's a pretty effective debut film from Cazzie and Elisa.
Yeah,
I would agree. Yeah, this one, it's interesting in a lot of ways in terms of the tone, because it is one of those things right from the get-go that it's concerning how their relationship is building. It is kind of the rom-com, very quick, but like they're really taking note of how quick some of this is and how concerning
There's like the love bombing.
But without
not just trauma dumping, the love bombing that precedes it always.
Exactly, but without actually using the words. They actually in the Q&A made we know that all these words get overused, so rather than just using them, we actually just want to really do great examples of what gaslighting is, what love bombing is, what all that kind of stuff is. And I do think some of this is to the extreme, but maybe now that you told me who Cazzie David is and who she dated, I was like, no, that was probably very realistic for your personal experience. But it is, I think this is one of those movies that you gotta watch. If you watch it with a significant other, you'll know very quickly if maybe you shouldn't be together with them anymore, because you might see certain things in your relationship on screen. We survived.
The Civil War is where I haven't seen the lead since.
That's what I mean. So it's like, you guys survived and you were good, but it is going to be one of those things that feels really uncomfortable, even if it's not in a relationship. If you've ever dealt with someone who's like manipulative in a way that makes you feel like you're the problem, that you're the worst person in the world.
Some people may have to see themselves in the other guy too and be like, oh, that's what I come off as.
That's what I come off as.
I think that's also important.
And even if it's not like you were 100% either of these people, you might be like 10%.
And that should be more than enough to be like, I don't even want to come off anything close like that.
True.
And you could do that in the privacy of you watching the movie.
That's exactly
Because, of course, when we talk about it, we're all the girl. Obviously, we're not the other person.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Yeah. It's a dictionary, a visual dictionary of these words.
And like what happens in a relationship. And I do like that it's kind of addressing it from a comedic standpoint, because it makes it easier to swallow some of it, easier to deal with some of it.
And that's the other thing, too, is that one thing I really respect about it is I think there are other films out there that try to be both comedies and like thrillers or dramas or whatever, and at a certain point they kind of ditch the comedy.
It never does.
They find a way to insert it in moments that don't feel like they should be laugh moments.
But they are. This
has a blend that was a lot better than Cuckoo having a horror movie and then like kind of a goofy movie over here. They are in this like I don't know if I don't want to say erotic thriller, but they're very much in a tense relationship thing that's happening.
It is a
relationship thriller.
Yeah, it's a relationship
it's like a relationship thriller. And then her buddies are in a comedy.
Yeah.
And it works so well. It's peanut butter jelly.
Until they kind of hit the drama stage where they're like seeing the reality of what's happening while she's in the horror.
I think it worked so well. It was
really
affecting genres within the groups.
Yes. It's really good. Because you have moments where she's like losing her mind, and then someone being like, oh my God, that's so sweet, Tom, thank you for us, so cute. And you're like,
Mackenzie, the main character, is played by Sophia Black-Delia, I think it's
single drunk female.
So good.
Yeah, she's really, really great in the movie, but we did mention her friends who are played by Cazzie David and John Hutchinson, I think it was.
He's so funny.
He's so funny.
John Rudnitsky.
John Rudnitsky.
He is so funny in this movie.
He's so good.
Steals basically every scene he's in. But the two of them are just hilarious opposite each other, and opposite Sophia as well. And it's that ability to kind of like undercut the tension with like a really well-timed joke, a little bit inappropriate, but not going over the line. I think it's all like blends to this. It all blends in this really like interesting way. I don't know. I found it effective. I think it's pushing similar buttons that like Cat Person tried to last year, but much more successfully.
Much more successfully.
As a cat person, not really defender, but someone who was entertained by that movie. This is one that actually has something to say. It's not trying to press your buttons on purpose like that one did. This I thought was very interesting because as she's jumping between her friends, you know, comedic world and that world, you're seeing the balance that she has to have, and it's supposed to be tonally striking.
And like this desperation of her knowing that so many of these situations are so wrong and fucked up, and how mentally unhealthy it is, and how she wants to like scream, but then at the same time blame herself for what's happening, and that if she was just better, it wouldn't be happening.
The dinner scene where she has to call him, like, they're complaining about not having that sex. She's like, I will. When I get home, I thought it was a banger line.
And there is a certain point where I do think it gets a little bit samey, and you find yourself like engaging in the same moments again and again. But I also think it reflects the experience of a lot of people in those emotionally manipulative relationships, right? Like we can from the outside be screaming like "leave him" or "run," but
we're on the outside.
And it's all. And I think it also does a pretty good job of communicating like the ebbs and flows. How like
you have good moments.
Yeah, there will be moments that redeem. And it'll bring you back in. And
she feels like she made a mistake, like you were saying, and you're like, oh, there's no way you're going to go down that rabbit hole to justify it then.
But she will. But it's also, I do think that your critique of the sameness is maybe how quickly it amplifies. And that's the only part where I was like, he amplified a little bit quicker than I feel like you normally would in a relationship like this. But then again, going back, Cazzie David stated the open issues that certain people have mentioned having, like actual severe mental illnesses. I don't know if we...
I think it's an important part because
Pete
I do think that was mentioned.
Pete Davidson has borderline personality disorder that for a while was untreated. It's not really something you can directly treat the way you can certain other mental illnesses like depression. So I could see how someone like that would absolutely, because when they feel like they're in a position where somebody is not appreciating them or they're not getting the care they feel they need, they will kind of flip very quickly into that antagonistic attack, and it will be very quick. So
which isn't to say that this is the Pete Davidson story, but there's probably inspiration there.
It is probably inspiration.
Not just from her experience, but like you hear things.
But there are so many things people do in this movie that aren't that you would not need to have a mental illness. This isn't.
But he also had access to stuff that you're like, who did you date who had access like that in New York?
Yeah, this isn't me trying to say
who's on TV like that shouting out things personally.
Exactly. I was like, okay. I just want to clarify. This isn't me trying to say that anybody who has like a mental illness is a bad partner.
If anything, it's you saying that if you see this movie and you go, because a lot of critics have, and I'm going, you've never been in a relationship. Why are you not reviewing a movie and just calling out you haven't lived life?
Yeah, because I've dealt with people who have threatened to kill themselves.
It's not condoning. It's not any of that stuff. It's the idea of like that happens to people, and what you're mentioning is for those of you who need to know who it would have been, you just said that name, and some people are going, oh, okay, actually now it makes sense.
Now it makes sense.
Hopefully you didn't need that, because there are people who are not famous who are doing what this guy does.
That.
Yeah,
I've seen people like that. I've dealt with people like that.
So the charming stuff that the guy's able to do to get her.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Imagine none of that, but just all the baggage that comes in the second half.
That's what I mean.
But I agree with what you guys were saying. It does happen really quick, and I felt that there should have been at the beginning when he's love bombing her and going really nice, and you got all the charm that comes from him being Junior. By the way, I saw a lot more of his dad in this one. Come on, Junior, basketball games. His dad is Nicholson.
That's
That's John Nicholson's son.
Yes, sir.
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson's son.
I did not realize that.
Bro, he's got so much of his dad in him right there.
Yeah.
I was so proud. Like, he was creepy. I was so proud of the chops he had.
It's true. It was good.
It was good.
I think what it might have needed is more of the subtle stuff. A little bit more of what you kind of got. There's a moment where she's going to like a party. A little bit more of that kind of like, oh, that sounds fun.
Like a confusion that's happening.
It's not a movie where you're going to not know what it's trying to say. Yeah. Right? Like, it is very overt.
I would say it's the most overt Alice Darling.
Yes.
Where it's never getting to physical abuse, at least not towards her.
Yeah.
It is so emotionally abusive that it becomes psychologically torturous to the point that he could be happy and she's still like, oh shit, oh fuck. And then you're on the phone being like, I'm about to get in the shower to let you go. And then you want to scream because you're just like, what could possibly be wrong now? I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling.
That's a good pick to put Alice Darling for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate that we're getting more movies that don't completely jump right into like that all abuse has to even
people
be
don't know
physical
until they see it,
or escalate to physical. It doesn't. Some of the worst abuse you can ever suffer is someone's words and how they will bring you down these trees and try to trip you up and run you in circles and say that you're the problem when then you start thinking that you're the problem. So then you're apologizing for things you didn't do. And then apologizing for them for things they did do. Like it's
the
it's a good display of that.
Yeah, the ways in which conversation can be manipulated, right?
Yes.
You can almost like trick yourself into saying things you don't want
We were
to.
literally just talking about that from a crime aspect, about how things can be described and how people word things to you or ask you questions can affect how you remember something. Somebody in a relationship can start portraying your actions in a way that you didn't intend, but you think, well, I guess I can see how they would. I am kind of terrible.
They make you the issue.
They make you the issue when they're the ones who are the issue.
And a movie like this does a good job because how do you explain to somebody, don't do that? You see the friends in the movie tell her, don't do that. Because that's what people do in real life. Yeah. Hey, you're not seeing it. Get out of it.
Get out of that. And a lot of times friends don't see it because you know it's not
friends
right.
Don't see it.
And you protect them. You don't want them to know because you don't want to deal with them getting on your case about it.
But you got the Priscilla movie that came out. There's a slew of stuff. I would even say with things like our favorite Netflix Sundance movie.
Fresh?
Fair
Play.
Well, Fair Play too. That's actually a good one. No, the one that's playing here right now that we just saw. It's All Inside.
Oh, It's What's Inside. One. Yes, It's What's Inside.
Like
of course.
rewatching that one again, it's like, oh, the cool premise, but that's another film where it's like, no, it's a relationship movie.
It is.
Yeah. What is it going to take for this person to realize I shouldn't be with you? So it's been a massive through line. I think a collection of these movies and these being out in the public, that's what people need to be like, oh, wow, seeing it in this context in a movie. That's a lot like me. Yeah. It's sometimes easier to get it from your media than it is to get it from the people around you. So
it's like you never
I want to call it an important movie.
No,
but
I would agree. I think it is. I think it is. And I think delivering it as a comedy is also really helpful so that it doesn't have to seem so...
A little sugar goes down.
Let's talk some funny stuff because the things that it does well...
Go to therapy, at least watch the TikToks
At least watch the TikToks I sent you. Them guessing the Apple TV wallpapers made Alina and I laugh way too hard.
Top tier Still Alice joke.
Still Alice joke had no business being that funny. Some really good stuff. There's a lot of really
funny moments. This is an entertaining movie. Like, even if I have some qualms with like how its story progresses, I think it was effective. I think it grabbed me. I think the ending is like really great. We don't want to spoil it, but it's
good.
Even a great ending. Yeah,
it's good. It stuck the landing. I thought I was going to end a little bit earlier than it did, and I'm glad it took it that one step further. Because I'm like, you can't end it there. You got to show that it's not as easy as that. You know.
Solid
movie.
I'm glad we all end up like it. I think that was the first movie we... No, it was
Roadhouse. It was the second.
But it was the first 11 o'clock.
The first one on the second
11 a.m. First one on the second day.
Yeah. And I'm glad it delivered. I thought it was pretty
good. It's good. I do think, obviously there's always going to be areas that could maybe go harder. I think this was a particular... Again, unfortunately, going back to Pete Davidson, I think the ending does kind of steer more into his process of when he's in relationships that we've noticed. Again, I'm not trying to talk about celebrity gossip. It is just, I want to point out that a lot of the people that are like, this guy will not ever give up, and they are crazy. They will stalk you. It is dangerous, and it's like that next level that this movie isn't engaging with. There are going to be, I would say Still Alice was more that movie where it's kind of like this person is not going to take your autonomy of trying to get out of the situation.
If I can't have you, nobody can.
That attitude. That exactly. My least favorite line. But that attitude that there are people that are like that.
Though is kind of scary when he says
oh my God, fair. But yeah, like there is that side of it too that I'm interested to see explored more. This was a very specific type of confounding that we've all definitely dealt with, where there's people that are so in, and then like it's the idea of you.
Yeah, I mean this is still like fairly novel territory when we're talking about like the ways movies depict relationships, and I think it's really effective, even if there's it's not a perfect movie, but also a pretty striking debut. I think
it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites of the festival. Easy. It is blowing some of the bigger projects out of the water, I find, on so many levels. I'm a big fan. It's probably, oddly enough, maybe other than Fall Guy, my favorite comedy of the movie, which is so weird to say considering you've got people threatening to kill themselves.
We should get an ice cream cake just for the vibes.
Just for the vibes.
Yeah, just for the vibes.
Be shitting for my birthday. It was good. It was really good. It might be hard for a lot of people, but like I said, because it's not quite as serious as something like a Still Alice, I do think that people that will be not Still Alice. Oh my God, Alice Darling.
Yes.
Sorry.
No. Or Still Alice.
Or Still Alice, but because it's not hitting it as serious as that, I do think people that need to see it will have an easier time watching it than trying to sit down for something that is going to feel too real and then not giving you any respite respite from how serious it is. Whereas this is going to be like, girl, you're right. We get it. Yeah.
I'm not sure the release of it, but it's one that I would recommend in theaters. I'd catch it again in theaters, right?
Distribution yet?
Yeah,
I don't even know what the distribution is, but I know for a fact, even with a theatrical run, I know it's small enough that I definitely want it to get picked up by a big streamer at the end of it.
Yep.
So, because that is where people are going to see it the most.
Oh, yeah.
That's where people are going to be able to connect with it.
It's going to be girls' nights.
Yeah, because it's such an awkward movie that it's exactly what some people would need to watch at home to be able to process.
Yeah, I don't want to say that like this is not an exclusive behavior to guys. Like if anything, sometimes girls are better at that weird psychological back and forth shit. Like it's
Tell me about it.
You guys are just emotionally neglectful like this.
We're the dumb ones, so you know what? You can't give us that.
No, it's like sometimes you like girls are like, I know what you want from me.
We're still writing off the Ken performance at the Oscars.
That's fair.
That'll ride us through next year.
Fair. Yeah.
I think I went 3.5 on this one.
That's pretty solid. What do we say? A 3.5 rom-com is 5 stars, baby.
I might go 4 on this one. I feel like hell yeah. I'm so bad at rating movies, but I think I might go 4.
Nice.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. So definitely a recommendation across the board.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love you forever.
Yeah, it's gonna feel cathartic. I love you guys forever and ever and ever.